thank everyone to come and see this different point of view because today we will going to talk about more sculptural stuff and the way of thinking, my kind of way of thinking. I try to describe into a brief, so maybe you can use some of these tips to understand and get the next level to your sculpture of human figure, right? So I thought that the class, the good name will be proportion and sculpture from sacred to blacksmithing, right? Because proportions is the measure this special mathematical formula who all the things are created. Weird, right? But it's this is the kind of stuff we are looking for in our sculpture, right? Uh, the first thing is the sacred geometry, right? This number of phi, right? Mathematical stuff. Uh, it's in our ADN, in our galaxy, the flowers, everything is controlled by this equation, right? So when we think in why I do like to see some flowers, so when you see nature, you feel connected because your eyes and your brain understand that it's all created in nature with this math formula, right? Which is phi, it's a constant number that creates spiral, all right? So in sacred geometry, tell us about as below to above. So all universe created from the same mathematical formula, right? From the big galaxies to our ADN. So we are part of this beautiful stuff of geometry, right? So our mission is try to understand this and apply these numbers or these measures to get the new level in our human figure sculpture. All right, the other stuff in sacred geometry, proportion and blacksmithing. Wow, this is our job, right? Creating spirals on uh, flowers in iron to create beautiful pieces of art using spirals, right, and proportions. So my my in my English is not too good actually in this moment, but I will try to do my best, right? So if I say something wrong, please. Yeah. All right. So our eyes recognize the code, this mathematical beauty that the nature have in it itself, right? So we are part of this mathematical stuff. So our brain, golden radio scrolls. Thanks, Beth, for that comment. Yes, all is created for the same. Yeah, but the most important thing I do believe is the soft flow of creation, right? The transformation and expansion, but flowing in beautiful rhythm, right? Just as the hammer strike the bars and create rhythm to transform a piece of iron in piece of art, right? All right, that is the first stuff. Well, go to the bone of this piece of meat, right? And what we need to talk is about a human figure sculpture, right? So all the body start with one unit, the head, right? If this is not a precise conception mathematical of understand the human body, it's just a generic main concept that you can control in any measure of bar or any. Well, so the study of classic Roman and Greek sculpture was based in proportions, right? Polycletus said the height of the human being is 7 heads, but in Renaissance, the architect Vitruvio defines the perfect proportion for human figure in 8 heads, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is proportion for regular classical sculpture. That sculpture you were walking down the street of Florencia and you see the sculpture, you say, wow, that is fucking amazing. Because your eyes recognize how this is natural to itself and recognize as a beauty piece of art, right? So we are trying to get this kind of logical. All right, so the unit is the head. So one head defines all the rest of the parts. What is amazing with the geometry of the body, when we take a lot of care with proportion, we can see that the belly button is just as the height of the elbows, right? And where the nipples start is the beginning of the arm, right? So the knees in a perfect geometry that allows us as a persons to get flexibility and express ourselves, right? Each measure is connected with the others, right? So we don't need to get another person to be our model because we are our model, right? We with a mirror, you can say, all right, uh, my hand entire is the same size of my head. So then the size of the head is the same as the hand. You say, hey, there's not coincidences here, right? So there's not coincidence. All is created with this kind of measure. So when we're going to make a human figure, it depends in your own style. That is why I do not pick it up my clay to do my stuff. I prefer that expression personal, but knowing this, we'll get a better look at sculpture, right? All right. Things that defines the gender of the sculpture will be in men, shoulders are wider, right? And in women, neck is longer than in men, and the shoulders are not too wide, right? But let's continue. All right. So when we knew that the head is the measure for every part of the body, and we're trying to create a natural and beautiful human figure that have this kind of logical, so we need to know that torso is the measure of 3 units of the head, right? Uh, one from the shin to the belly button, right? One from chin to nipple pegs, all right. So the first, this head, the second head will be the mark to the nipples, right? The third head will be the belly button. And the fourth head will be the genital area, right? So 3 heads is the torso, and the full arm is 2 times the head, right? What is a common mistake is create this very long arm so it looks not too natural. And the eyes, when you see it, say, hey, that arm is not totally correct. So if you consider the unit as the head, as the unit of all the body and all connected, you will not have more this mistake, right? So the size of the full arm is the same size of the leg starting from genital area to the knees. So 2 heads, right? So our arms, one full arm without the head, without the hand, that is other plus. So this is the same and this is the same, right? When I do more female sculpture, I try to use like a tip, legs longer, more expressive and more delicate when you see it, right? It's kind of tip. All right. So the next step is the next part is using in the sculpture. Well, it getting a little disordered here, but I prepared another way. Anyway, it's the same. Using a sculpture. This is the size of the head in my sculpture, right? So I put it in the presentation, do not work well, but in time, it have the original position. But every one of these blocks represents the size. Well, this is rotated, but it would be two in line. So uh, if this was organized, will be, you can see how the blocks mark show us how use proportions. So in a sculpture, so for example, the trouble, natural proportions are recognized from human eyes. So as I talked before, our eye recognize what is naturally created and the measure of this mathematical formula, right? So what is kind of error, a mistake can human eye can recognize a mistake from 1 millimeter difference, right? So if you want to get a nice proportions, try to be very accurate with this. The next stuff is what our eyes found beauty is what are related with ourselves, right? Our souls and emotions. That's why we love in a sculpture or we hate it, right? Because all human beings are created and have this movement and decisions based on his emotions and his passions. So very expressive people will use more his body because 75% of communication is just body expression, right? So when we try to create a sculpture, is to better try to capture an emotion, right? So people can see it. This, I don't know. He's very smile. He's running, smiling with this baggage. I don't know. Many people's uh, will have different opinions about the emotion, but not a robot, right? Another tip is when I blacksmithing, define the size of the head to define everything else. The same stuff, but I say it in another different way, right? So when I define the head, all the rest of the pieces will be defined, right? It is not about precision. It is about a concept to create, right? So if the size of the head is 4 inches, so you know the arms will be 8 inches because two sides of the heads, right? The same. 4 inches will be 4 inches, 8 inches, 12, 16 inches, right? All right. So it's not about precision. It's just trying to get the right measures to get a natural expression and a right form of the body, right? Okay. So the body is equal pure expression, right? So we are in a sculpture class. We're saying, I don't know, maybe. Okay, so we're not robots, right? Because nobody's staying here. This is have no kind of sense. You see a sculpture with a very rigid body. It, you don't feel glad about this sculpture because it's dead body, right? We need to feel something. As I said, 75% of communication is not non-verbal, right? So you see this pose, this action, and you bring, hey, relate. That is yoga, right? That is yoga. Oh, I see it because you can see how flexible is the body and the spine to get that cube, right? So you find, wow, that is not a robot. Hey, I like it. It's a kind of piece, I don't know, right? Or you can prepare double sculpture with two characters, just thinking, all right, one head. So the torso will be 3 heads. 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay, it's good. Works. So the head of the girl. So one head, 2 head, just to the knee. Wow, as I said in the graphics, right? So be careful, don't be stay there. So 2 heads more will be knee until the ankle. So as we see, the proportions works, right? So if you translate this into blocks, how the original, all right. So this is our concept. So units of the head, two for the arm, two for the upper leg, and lower leg, right? So when we have, just in case, I will. Wow, today I am very inspired to create a yoga position, right? Not today, but anybody could wake this up, right? Being told, kind of smiling. What a nice day. So we have good fire. Yeah, yeah, I will make a sculpture of yoga. What? Perfect. So I will, the way I try to create my sculpture when I wake it up in this energy positive. Not always right, but I try to do myself my best. Right. So when we wake it this way, say, all right, I will looking for some information. What is the most expressive positions or actions into yoga, right? And try to looking for what is good and what is not good, right? So then I can pick up this piece of metal and decide, all right, when I start, I always have the same size, three pieces of iron, one for the torso and two the same piece of iron for the legs. In case that the sculpture will be a man, I will use the same piece of iron in five pieces, right? Two for the leg, one for the torso, and two for the arms, right? But when I will make a sculpture of a woman, I will use the same piece of iron for the torso and the same piece of iron for legs. But the last sculpture I did, I used 18 millimeters as round stock bar, but the arms I will did it. I have did it in 12 millimeters, right? So the arms into ballerina or a more female sculpture will be thinner than the rest of the stock for the body. All right, so it kinds these little tips could help you to get more defined which gender will be your sculpture, right? Well, in between I have this kind of material for this class, for this Treff, I start just trying to explain to you how I think, how I translate my brain to how I think in a start a sculpture, right? But if you are subscribed to California Blacksmithing Mag, in the number of January, February, there is a complete stuff about this, right? So it's all the contents and how to make the entire sculpture, right? So here's all the material. All right. Well, so this is a very fantastic day. I want to make a sculpture. What can I recommend for you? This book. This book is The Human Figure in Motion, the Edward Muybridge. So it book have a lot of pages and situation, and you can see it frame by frame and decide which one do you prefer to make a sculpture, right? So this guy make a lot of studies of anatomy of movements, so will be very inspired to create your next sculpture. Remember, it's not about the sculpture, it's about if you want to create a beautiful piece of human being, respect proportions, right? All right. We are moved by our soul's dream and passion, right? So he have this emotion of peace. They are dancing and enjoying his dance. I don't know. The most flexibility is main concept, right? Because more flexibility, you can see the work of blacksmithing is more controlled. But when you see it, it looks easy because it's flow and express, right? Not forced. So the next, what I think to make a sculpture is connect with public through emotions, right? So you can get some interesting sculpture using gravity, right? Just using just the pivot of the feet, little rivet, and just then Serena staying without gravity. That always is good. Use gravity, right? Balance and mass volume. Mass volume, I refer this when you use this kind of gravity without the male dancer, you can use a big piece of iron or stone. So the mass volume will contain the gravity of the pieces with non-gravity style state, right? So that will help you to increase the expression. All right. In blacksmithing concept, I do not enter too much into blacksmithing concept, but because this is all in the magazine CBA, so blacksmith, define height of the head. Lo primero es, the first thing is define the height of the head. The width of the head defines the size of the bar, right? So if I want to create a little piece of sculpture, probably I will start with a half-inch round bar, right? Yeah, I think as round bar it allows more expression in movement at the beginning. All right. The size of the part defined already. This I decide this one for I don't know 1 inch, 1 inch round bar. So I will use this bar, this start the genital zone. So 1, 2, 3, 4 heads, right? And the same 4 heads in here, right? Because legs start a little bit upper, so you can rib it up. I put this in when I do the legs. Probably I will do a long taper, so legs will be longer than really is in nature, but it will be very helping to create a more kind of for flexible expression with long legs. Is better, very good looking than the other way. All right. So the iron pieces for leg are the same height than the head and torso. So this is the same 4 equals pieces of iron, right? The shoulders define the gender of the figure. So the bigger the shoulder, more masculine. So that's why when I create a man, I use the same piece of iron for all this structure. And when I do females, the same piece of iron for legs and the torso, but the half of the size in the stock bar for the arms, right? On the contrary, less shoulder, thinner arms, and longer legs will create more feminine character. So this is, I don't know, I think you do not need more information because the rest is just playing and get some tapers because the next stop is if I got this when I have a leg, the first stop what I will do will be create a flat bar, right? And it will grow. Then if I got this, I will set the half, right? So I will put the footer in here, right? There, taper. And then the other taper will be this way to create the fit, right? But this all is in CBA Mac, right? What other thing is important? All right. All right. This picture is in good conditions because you can see us how it blocks form the sculpture and really you can appreciate you can see how it works, right? So 1 head, 3 heads for the torso, two blocks, 2 heads for the upper leg, 2 heads for the lower leg. The same in the other leg, three times the head in arms. So no matter no matter the posture, always check the relation of the body parts, right? So the posture on the action could it be infinite options, right? So as I said, this book of Edward Mybridge have a lot of action and you can use it, all right? But never forget the relation of the body parts with the unit that is the head. The next phrase, flexibility and expression will be good if proportionate good. All right. So no matter the posture, if the proportion are not good, probably your sculpture will see a little weird. But if the flexibility and expression is good and the proportion are good, probably people will love your sculpture because it have the natural dimensions, right? The next step is take all the time you need, right? This is not a race, just with yourself. But this is not a race. So if you need to take 1 week to make a leg, good. Just have the purpose and go straight at it. All right. Next tip, stay calm, right? When you start the sculpture, just relax. This is kind of not a job, it's blacksmithing. You make it for because you love it, right? So try to connect with your feelings. And the feelings, what are you doing? This emotional state, if you are staying calm, trying to make it, thinking about, hey, I would do this beautiful dancer, or I don't know, just a strong guy. Make it, you take the feelings of the character that you will make it, and this emotional state will penetrate into your sculpture. I don't know why, because it's kind of magic, right? But energy work this way. So if you are making a sculpture and hating your day and thinking all negative stuff, believe me, your sculpture will not be good. Right? So take your time, not a rest, stay calm, try to express what is inside of you. All right. The next stop is a lot of practice will allow you to dominate this formula of using this block to create as proportions, and will take you to the next level into your sculptures. And I think that is so. And what other things? I have some books here um, that could help you. I use general this anatomy for sculptures. So it talks a lot more of proportions and how anatomy works for sculpture. The other book can I recommend for this is, well, uh, I think all of you know this guy Seebeck, who have a great job doing sculpture of humans, and I think that is, I don't know, it's good. Somebody has question?
No, I start going through the questions one by one. And the first has come from Paul Foss, which is, why does nature spiral?
I don't know. It's supposed Fibonacci numbers have more information about this, and it's all about the 1 plus 1 say create the next number. So 2 plus before 1 create the new number, and that is how all start to create to infinite equation, right? So it defines how a spiral start to grow and grow. Yes, and I don't know. I there is a lot of information, but I did not have it now because I'm not prepared for spirals.
No, I hope anyway, Paul, this has been at least a bit answering your question.
Beth asking about the lung of the feet, right?
Well,
the lung of the feet.
Just go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
You can put more in Beth, right? That is a problem when a student not take do not write on the copy. So the length of the feet is the same of the nipples to the shin. that is the size of the feet. It's almost a head, but not completely a head. I know, just one head, yeah, nipples to shin. So when you can make this sculpture, probably you will in angle, for example, you make it in angle. So in not use the 8 heads, use one plus head for feet when do it in angle, because you will need one head for the feet, right?
Well, next question from Mariano Garabato. Which advice can you give us to avoid the rigid looking that cut this free expression?
Very good answer. Very good question. Well, the first step would be just take a beer, relax yourself, and try to connect with something, right? Maybe if you need to uh, get this to another level, you decide, all right, I don't know what to do, but probably I will need visit ballerina shows. I don't know, go to theater, people see people in the street, or the people who's dancing hip hop. I don't know. Just um, if you prefer to avoid this rigid concept, don't be avoid with yourselves, right? Don't be rigid with yourselves. So if you don't want to be rigid, go out the street, take a walk, see how beautiful is nature. There's a lot of people moving, birds floating, and everything. Eh? Don't be rigid with yourself, and your sculpture do not be rigid.
Can you go back to the first page of your presentation showing the
All
spirals?
right.
Paul, you ask your question like in sound.
All right.
I think the answer, the question isn't to find. What I wanted to express is that you see everywhere in nature spiraling. Plants are growing in a spiral to the sun. You see in your chromosome DNA a spiral. Everywhere you see in nature spirals. Uh, Much of the art is derived from spirals, but we don't have an explanation why there are spirals in nature. Why is the universe built up, the Milky Way built up in spirals?
All right. I understand the question, but
It's a very deep and interesting question.
right. I don't know if really they have an answer, right? There's a lot of
Yeah,
information and
not
studies, but
not having an answer is also an answer.
right. But it's a kind of secret of the creation. I don't know. I don't know
Yeah,
how
maybe it is the secret of the creation.
All right.
But
I
you
think
see,
the question
but you
is
see, lots of blacksmiths you see them spiraling when making scrolls. You see all kinds of spirals. When you go
right.
to when you go through Europe and you see the artwork of the blacksmith, everywhere are different spirals, and it's interesting why they are doing this. Of course, it's the most simple answer because they like it, because their clients like it. But there must be a deeper explanation. But that is not for tonight.
yeah.
I think all of this started in Renaissance with the mathematical studies and the stuff, and how nature. Because I I I think that blacksmithing start with the observation of nature, right? So we always see or saw it in classical grills that it's all a recreation of nature. So I think this is a part of observation of the landscape, right? Watching the landscape, see what is around. So we started with the plants and spiral and how plants grow and expand the flowers, right? But I think I like to have this kind of positive way of thinking. I don't know, it's kind of magic, right? So it's more sound more infinite probabilities than created in not rigid. Against rigid.
I can give you a very fast answer to your question. Our brain is works in a logarithm way. It's not the natural way, and it's proved that our brain works using the natural logarithm, and the natural logarithm use the golden number in the equation. It's a very hard equation, so it's not very easy to explain why, but works like this, and this is why for us all everything that use the golden number works better for us. And also in nature, it's the way that the universe works or fits. It's a statistical the way that everything works, but it's very, very hard to explain actually.
I think it has a physical explanation. If you take, for example, a bar with two ribbons, and then you turn them, you see how they turn around the middle bar that you're turning, and the outside of the ribbon doesn't turn at the same speed as the inside. It's behind, it's running behind. Same thing for a galaxy. Galaxy is made of gas mainly. And when you look at the center, so there's something turning at the center, and then everything around is taken into that movement, but it's react later. So it kind of shapes something that's coming, but later than at a slower speed than the center. I mean, that's a very basic explanation. I cannot explain why you have some flower, you know, starting this way and growing this way, like a fern, for example. I'm not so sure, but that's an idea.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, sounds like, I think we will probably not be able to like solve this why question, but we have now seen like lots of answers to the how. There has been another question from Kees before, to which I would like to come back because it's related to this proportion topic of today, which is from Kees. That's the great stuff. Do you have a similar proportional guidelines when laying out the facial features?
Yes, because I not go too deep into this presentation because I have only 20 minutes, right? But when you start to study this, you will discover that all in your body have proportion and all is the same. So when I create faces, I always try to study it first, right? So when the body is the head is the unit for the body proportions, so the nose is the unit for the proportion of the face, right? It's a different kind of proportion, but the nose is the same size of the forehead and the mouth, right? So the width of the nose, it's similar because it's 5 times, so all is related, but it needs more time to be explained. But yes, all have proportions. Yes, for example, I know the ancient food is the same on the forehead, right? And the size of the head of the hand is the same of the forearm, right? Yes, it's all related.
No, that's great. Like I know that there are many different proportional guidelines, and I think every artist is looking for some and has kind of their favorites. And I just love to know yours because many contradict in a way and have their own subtleties. So the rule of 3 as your favorite is great, and I know it's a very deep topic. So I was not looking for like all of these things are just guidelines that can help us. I just like in this presentation to hear yours. and share yours. Like many artists use the eyes as the center line, but the rule of 3 is nice. And it's of course great to see your personal style, and I'll definitely play with it. Thanks.
All right, thank you. I'm glad you like it. And if some of this information help you, that's well, I will be very glad you will use it. So I hope for all of you, just try to make it. Maybe start drawing just boxes and then start playing. And in the future, you probably will see more fluid, more flowing sculpture, right? Dancing around this insane world.
As with many things, practice makes perfect.
Is there any stock sizes that you prefer to use that you find gives you a nice size? I know you mentioned before, like 18 millimeter, 12 millimeter. Are there any other stock sizes that you prefer to use when you're making your sculptures?
Yeah, I have been trying sculptures in different bars sizes, and I do prefer for the torso 18 millimeters for the torso, and for the arms I regularly use half inch, so thinner arms but more hips and bigger legs. It looks very that is my favorite stuff. The next stuff is, I think, when I beginning, I start making just stick figures, but now I start to put another elements, right? Because I don't know, a more flowing clothes or floating clothes or something that create a new style. But depends on everyone. Can you tell us about your use of angle iron? Yeah, well, I love to use angle iron. I do not have many friends, so I made my my friends. He names is Wilson now, and now I love to I love to use angle iron because it allows a start just with volume, right? So you can flat different parts and go to another level, right? And to use iron and angle for figures, I made it. I always try to, when I start this is not one, but all right. When I make it the legs, I just cut in the middle, and when I start from up, I divide in 3 parts. So there's 3 parts. I divide the angle in 3 and cut here. So in the middle would be the head, and you can get the arms just from the side. It's not too difficult. I saw that from Davide Caprile, and he's the master doing this. But it's all in the internet. But I think that all the information about that is in CBA. I put it there so anyone can see it.
I think this has been at the same time answering your question, Mariano, which is if you work with angle iron, how you think is the best way to get the proportions. And the original question has been by Beth Holmberg.